Hello, my name is Luca Torsini from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, and you're listening to the Pro Hockey News Podcast.
Hello, hockey fans from around the world. I am Richard Cote, the producer of the Pro Hockey News Podcast. It is the second line edition of the podcast, and you know what that means. Yep, it means we are joined by the publisher of ProHockeyNews.com, Lou Lafredo. Lou, how are things in your neck of the woods?
Just boiling hot. Um, Mid 90s, going to be bumping up against 101 tomorrow. And speaking of boiling, um, I've got a really cool Blue Sky account to follow. It's called Chef Reactions.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen it?
I've seen him on Instagram.
It's just it's just the best. Okay, so anybody you want to laugh at people who put really god awful um, um, ingredients together and make them. This guy has got some of the best comments, and he's also got some great comments about the good stuff. So,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Richard, back to you.
Okay. We are missing our snarky Canadian in Edmonton, which is funny because his team just mounted a comeback to even the series, which we'll talk about later here in the episode. But listeners, I will not deprive you of a snarky Canadian on this line. No, we will bring in our intern, Nicholas Principe. Nicholas, how are things in the Toronto area?
It's good. It's good. I can't complain. I stepped on the ball hockey court for the first time yesterday in 8 years. So
Oh, yeah?
yeah, I'm riding high.
That's
How did
great.
that treat you?
It was good. We came out with a 3-2 victory. I got one apple. Almost got into a kerfuffle, but yeah.
Now, ball hockey, that is that like roller hockey or is that just like street hockey?
It's like street hockey. There's
Yeah.
no, you just got
Mm,
to use your legs.
yeah, okay, so nothing strapped to your feet, you're just using your shoes. Got it.
Yep.
All right, listeners, this episode of the Pro Hockey News Podcast is brought to you by My Custom Sports Chair. Head over to mycustomsportschair.com, enter in code PHN15 to save yourself 15% off your purchase of the greatest chair you will ever put in your fan cave. All right, I know last time we recorded, Lou had a rant, and a couple weeks before that, I had a rant. I've got nothing this week. I'm maybe I'm finding my inner peace. I'm not rantful about anything. So maybe it's just because we're coming to the end of the season that I'm not not as angry, not as I don't know. Um, I'll try and find something for our last episode. I'll have a rant for you listeners because I know that's one of the reasons you come here, other than the pure hockey information that we throw at you every single episode. But what we do have is a champion in the ECHL. We have the Trois Lions, who have defeated the Toledo Walleye to win the 2025 Kelly Cup. And as Lou and I were talking about a little bit before, um, we were a little surprised about how this went down because I don't think either one of us had a gentleman's sweep on this, Lou.
Um, I'm not even sure you could call this a gentleman's sweep. It was like sort of a gimme on the first one, right?
Right.
Toledo went up 1-0 at home, and then it was just over. That was it. Um, in fact, it just wasn't close. I was surprised that Toledo rolled over like a dead carp. And yeah, it was really disappointing. I was I guess it was my the walleye were my inner favorite this season, and I thinking how they sort of mowed through the Kansas City Mavericks to reach the final and
Yeah.
uh, to go up 1-0 and then just utterly disappear. Hawkins, excuse me, Hawkins. Um, I think had maybe one or two goals, and he he just disappeared. The leading scorer just disappeared, and the Lions had uh, um, a response to anything that the Walleye threw at them. So, congratulations to the Lions. They had a great season, great postseason, and there is just nothing you can take away from them in the Kelly Cup final.
No, and game three was at least the score was close. I mean, I know the gameplay wasn't terribly close, but I mean, Toledo had a chance to at least try and force a game six
Right.
at that point. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Poitiers is a solid team this year. Well deserved Kelly Cup championship. For a quick point of reference here, as we talk about the Kelly Cup and the past few years, um, th- the Kelly Cup finals have not gone to a game six since 2019. They have all been 5 games or a sweep.
Right.
I guess with the
Jeez.
exception of 2021, it was shortened. South Carolina won 3 games to 1 that year.
Yeah.
But or sorry, Fort Wayne beat South Carolina for 3 games to 1.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that it's been a while since we've seen a series go the distance. It's been pretty dominant, um, ever since. So,
Yeah.
and we haven't seen a game seven since 2018 when Colorado was in the ECHL before they moved to the AHL.
Oh, right. That's right. That was a 7 game.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was a 7 game series. Yeah, because I you wonder what is going on. I mean, all of these postseasons are brutal, and it may be travel is just wicked, and the stronger team just comes out on top. The other thing too is let's not forget it is a 2-3-2
Hmm.
um, rotation on the series, and I think that 3 games in the middle. Once you get behind, uh, the Walleye, well, they didn't get behind. They went to 12 tied 1-1, and now you're sitting on the opposition's home ice for 3 straight games. That's a tall ask.
It is.
Particularly in the minor leagues where the crowds, I think, get a little bit more not rowdy. You know what? They're more boisterous. Let's put it that way. And it's
Well,
more personal because they are right
yeah.
there, basically on the ice.
Yeah, those are more intimate venues. They're right
Right,
on top of you as opposed
right,
to, these
right.
huge arenas that are spreading everyone out.
Yeah,
So, congratulations to the Poitiers Lions on a well-earned Kelly Cup championship.
absolutely. Yep,
And we'll enjoy it, celebrate, and we will see you guys next season as we follow along with the ECHL moving forward. In the AHL, we have our Calder Cup final set up. We have the Charlotte Checkers, who have been waiting for a little bit, to play the Abbotsford Canucks, who had just finished their 6 game series against the Texas Stars. Charlotte, sweeping the Laval Rocket, have earned their spot. Game one is this evening. I believe it is at 7 p.m. Eastern as we are recording this. We started at 7 p.m. Is that
yeah.
Eastern or
7
Mountain?
p.m. East. Yep,
Is it? Okay.
yeah,
Um, so then they're already underway. Oh no, because we're recording at 4:30.
yeah.
Time. Okay. So we started recording at
Hey,
4:30 Mountain Time, which is 6:30 Eastern Time.
right,
So in about
right.
20 minutes or so, they'll be dropping the puck. I can do the maths. I can do the maths. Um, Lou,
Yes.
what do you look at for this matchup? I mean, Charlotte has been dominant throughout the playoffs. Their only snag was the Providence Bruins, and essentially they're round one since they're the funky AHL
Right,
format.
right.
Since then they've won 7 in a row. Uh, is Abbotsford going to be putting up any sort of competition for them for the Calder Cup?
Yes. Well, you asked how I thought it was going to go. I have no idea. I mean, in terms of an outcome.
Right.
In terms of the outcome, I haven't got a clue. The Checkers have been, as you said, absolutely dominant, sweeping the Rocket, who were not a pushover in the least. Abbotsford gets to the final by taking out Texas Stars in six. And the one thing that we talked about 2 weeks ago in the last second line edition of the podcast, we did say that most of those games, if not all of them, would be one goal affairs. And it really was just one game. What was it? 5-2
Hmm.
that Abbotsford won. All the others were close. One goal or one goal plus an empty netter
Yeah.
to get to the final. So they played, and I think Texas is a good team.
Yeah.
I think I would put Texas on the same, almost the same standard as the Laval Rocket. Um, so the Checkers facing up against the Canucks now. Um, I I'm going to say the Checkers probably have um, momentum on their side, except they've been off since March. I
Pretty
mean, it's
much.
pretty close. They haven't played a game since March, I think. Um, they might be a little bit rusty, but the Canucks have been off now a couple of days themselves. Maybe they come in at the same pace. I I don't know.
Yeah, it's
This is a
been
this one is a mystery. I took, I think, Abbotsford in the final, and I think we all were sort of, well, we might have had mixed reactions to whether it was going to be Charlotte or the Rocket. I think I took the Rocket. So
yeah.
what do I know?
Yeah, it's been 10 days since the Checkers played their last game against the Rocket.
Yeah.
And for the Canucks, it's been about 4 days, or sorry, about 5 days. So, I mean, they've had some decent amount of rest, both teams. We'll talk about, you can argue rest versus rust, whether it's good to have that much time off in a long playoff series like this. Um, I Prediction for me, I
Yeah.
think Abbotsford's going to come away with a win in game one, but I think it's going to be a gentleman's sweep. I think Charlotte's going to win 4 games to 1. I think it's going to be a mirror image of what we saw in the ECHL.
That would mean Abbotsford has to take game one tonight in Charlotte.
Right.
So that's the rest versus rust for you.
Yep.
Huh. And then the Checkers sweep three in Abbotsford.
Well, they'll take one at home and take,
Two,
yeah,
three,
yeah, you're
two.
right. Two,
Yeah.
yeah, yep.
Um, Checkers in six.
Checkers in 6. Nicholas, do you have a very precise and accurate prediction for how the series is going to go?
I've been so off with all of my predictions in the AHL so far. But just I can't shy away from my Canadians, so I'll say Abbotsford in five.
In
Five?
five. In
Wow.
five.
Five.
Now, okay, so that's your predictions. What I want, I want to see Abbotsford take this. I think they had a great season. For them, it was a far better regular season than in comparison to the Checkers, and I just like the way Abbotsford plays, and it gives me hope for that Vancouver has got talent
Yeah.
waiting to get called up.
Yep. Yeah. We'll be checking in closely on this. And if you want to check any of the action happening around the Calder Cup, you can get the best news from prohockeynews.com. Head over to Pro Hockey News, check out the latest about hockey worldwide. See if if the checkers are able to finish it out or if they get cold feet. If you're getting cold feet, you should visit our friends over at Superfeet. Protect your feet inside those skates from hurting too much while you're on the ice, keeping them nice and insulated and well and ready to go. I could probably use a pair of soles for my skates, but check them out. Thanks for sponsoring this edition of the Pro Hockey News podcast. And for what we now like to call the Jacob's PWHL corner, but we are absent. Jacob, you are absent. Not able to do the PWHL corner. So I will do my best to try and power through this and do it in only a way that Jacob can. I will fall short. I guarantee you that. But we had an expansion draft back on Monday, I believe, June 8th, whatever day that was. The PWHL had their expansion draft. Saw some surprising names out on the list that were available. One that stuck out to me was Hillary Knight for the
Yes.
Boston Fleet. I was reading a lot of articles from various Boston outlets about how the team was very disappointed that they weren't able to protect her in the expansion draft. I I mean, I guess I don't know the inner workings of your organization. If you're that upset about it, maybe you should do something about it. That is a huge name to leave unprotected in the expansion draft, especially when she is the points leader of the league. Anyways, she seems to be excited to be heading over to Seattle, where she will be helping expand women's hockey as PWHL Seattle starts their season next season. We also saw some names being taken from PWHL Vancouver. PWHL Vancouver taking Sarah Nurse, so another big name there. One thing that Jacob had tossed in here, and I'm curious why he had mentioned Emirates Mashmare um, as their goaltender coming up next season.
Right.
She had a great season with the Ottawa Charge last year. I think this was a phenomenal pick by Vancouver. I think this is a solid place to start when building their team. She had a 230 goals against average last year over 9 games, and 915 save percentage. Those aren't bad numbers. Um, I think if I'm Vancouver, I'm happy with that.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm happy with a player named Emirates. I don't know you guys, but I just think that's the coolest name I've ever heard.
it is a cool
I
name.
love that name.
It is a cool name, and she plays hockey very well. So,
Yeah, it's all
yeah,
yeah. Yeah, I am not discounting her talents, but I'm sorry, I just love the name. I saw that come up in the draft and it's like, oh no, I have to follow her. And then I'm looking
yeah.
through and remembering, she did just such a great job with the Charge this year.
Also adding to her resume, she was on Team Canada during the 2022 Olympics, won gold with them. She was also with Team Canada pretty much from 2016 through 2023 for the Women's World Championships, and also in 2024 won 3 gold. Won 3 gold and 3 silver and 1 bronze in those events. So, I mean, the PWHL young league, so there's not a whole lot of stats to dive into. Her career totals. Over 41 games in the PWHL, she has a 2.42 goals against average in 41 games and a 914 save percentage. So 15 wins in those 41 games, 15 and 16, 6 overtime losses. I think they got a really good goalie there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I think one thing that kind of stood out as well, that Vancouver was stacking themselves on some defense here. They picked up a couple of good blue liners with Ashton Bell and Sophie Jacques. So I don't know. I'm excited for to see these expansion teams take flight here in the next season. Um, again, I was Hillary Knight is high up on my list. That name with USA with women's USA hockey is just a powerhouse. Whenever I see that name moving somewhere, I'm like, oh man, like
Mm.
she spent many years in Boston with the what was it before
The Pride, no, the
the
Buttes,
Premier
no,
Hockey the Premier Hockey Federation when they
um,
were the Boston Pride,
yeah.
and then they moved over and became the Boston Fleet. Anyways, I've been following her because she's a great American hockey player. So I and in the Boston area, so I'm close with that. Seeing her go to Seattle, excited to see what she does and how that team does. I was excited for the expansion as well. So yeah, pretty big shakeups there in the PWHL, and we'll be keeping track of that. One concern, and Lou, I want to get your thoughts on this. The Ottawa Charge seem to be picked on just a little bit more than the rest of the teams there. Obviously, they had quite a bit of talent with the push they had at the end of the season. They were a team that kind of got targeted in this expansion draft. Um, do you see them? I don't want to say recovering, but how do you see them faring in the next season with the loss of all that talent?
Well, look, you've also got the draft coming up,
Right.
and so there, I think there's plenty of the. Here's the difference between the PWHL and um, the NHL, and at least in my mind, it's because there will only be 8 teams, right?
Correct.
Yeah, 8 teams next season. I think what you've got is a deeper draft pool. So these Boston losing Hillary Knight, the Charge losing so much of the talent across the bench. I think that the younger talent coming up and going to be available for this draft will fill some of those empty roster spots very nicely for both of those teams. In fact, all 8. Seattle and Vancouver will be able to round out. But I think I think the fact that Hillary Knight went, and you sort of touched against this a few minutes ago, and the fact that they left Hillary Knight unprotected speaks volumes about what they feel they have behind her, right?
Yeah.
That they could let her go, and potentially seed a solid core out there in Seattle. And so yeah, I don't I they might take a hit, the first few games. Um, but I think overall the talent that's coming in on the draft will be just fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's still always an unknown when you have players coming in who haven't been in the league, no matter what league you're in. You have people moving up to a more competitive environment. You got the best of the best in the world playing in
Right,
one spot, and
right.
you bring in talent from outside. You don't know how they're going to be in that league. So I go with this, with any draft or anybody who's expected to be the next big anything in any sport. It's like, well, let's take a step back. Let's see how they play game one coming in. Give them at least a couple of games. I know that they did phenomenal things in the previous league they were in, but let's let them feel out the rules and the differences, the pace of play, um, and then we can make a judgment. So yeah, for me, it's always kind of like, yeah, what's it going to be? Is it going to be a Sidney Crosby or is it going to be a Connor Bedard? we just don't know at this point. So yeah, I think it was very obvious that the teams were going to want to pick from Ottawa, just given the number of players that they had in like in the top parts of stats across the league as points, goals, and assists. Um, so yeah, uh, I and the fact that they went up and gave Minnesota a good chance for the Walter Cup
Yeah,
this past season. So.
right.
Anyways, we'll be keeping track of that at prohockeynews.com, and we'll be keeping track of the draft as that comes up for the PWHL. All right, we also have uh, playoffs happening in the NHL. The Stanley Cup playoffs are still going on, and we are in the Stanley Cup final. We are going into Game 5 tomorrow night. Series is tied at 2. Um, for those of you who are wanting some exciting hockey, I don't know, some high scoring affairs, a little emotion on the ice, I guess you guys got it in the first 4 games. If you're into that kind of thing, exciting hockey, I don't know. Um, it has been it has been a thing. Um, as we know, Edmonton taking games 1 and 4, Florida taking games 2 and 3. Uh, it has been quite a heated battle as we rematch from last year's Stanley Cup final. Nicholas, I would like to get your opinion going in as far as the first 4 games of this Stanley Cup final. What have you noticed? What have you been watching, and what are your impressions?
Well, it's been a roller coaster so far. I've watched, I believe, 2, 3, and 4, just the third periods in overtime. And I'm not gonna lie, I got very scared that I was a bad luck charm for the Oilers because when I watched 2 and 3 and they came back in, I think it was the third game where they scored Perry with like 15 seconds left or something like that.
Right.
And then they lost in overtime. I was like, there's no way this happens 2 games in a row. So when I watched yesterday's game and it went in, and Reinhardt scored with 20 seconds left, I was like, I have to shut off the TV. But I didn't shut off the TV and they won, thank God. But no, it's been incredible, and I think this is a incredible series to watch so far. I think it's back and forth. I mean, Florida keeps giving up leads, Edmonton keeps giving up leads as well, but Edmonton's great from behind. So I don't know. It's just visually and from a neutral point of view, it's been incredible to see.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things where Florida has to get out there quick. They have to score as much as they can because they score 5 goals, they're golden. They're 11-0 when they score 5 goals this postseason. Um, if they score less than 5, I think they're like 3-7 this postseason. So the five goals is the magic number for them. On the other side with Edmonton, they're fantastic. They've won just about every game coming back from behind. So, and that's usually like 2 or 3 goal deficits that they've come back to win. So, yeah, it's one of those immovable objects versus the unstoppable force here. Lou, what have been your impressions, and do you have any predictions going into Game 5?
Um, well, first of all, the Oilers at least reclaimed home ice advantage. So they've got 2 home games. If it goes 7, uh, and the fact that they are traveling after a win to get home and take the ice with a rally, well, despite giving up that goal with 20 seconds left, um, being able to take the ice off a win, I think puts them in good stead for tomorrow night. And I know Nicholas thinks he's bad luck. I just haven't been able to pick a winner. I think this postseason, but I kind of look for the Oilers to take advantage of the momentum off of last night and uh, put up a 3-2 series lead. I hope it doesn't go to overtime, but
Speaking of overtime, the Florida Panthers in this postseason have played in 7 games that have gone to overtime. The Edmonton Oilers have played in 6 games that have gone to overtime. Do either of you know the record number of games to go to the record number of games that have gone to overtime in one playoff year for a team? Sorry, let me rephrase that.
yeah, no, I got you.
A team who has played in the most
Right.
overtime games in one playoff year. What the number is, not the team.
Yeah.
9?
Close.
Dang.
Yeah, I was actually going to say 11.
It's 11.
Oh,
The Montreal Canadiens, the last time they won the Stanley Cup in the 92-93
93
season,
11.
they 11 games for them went into overtime.
Hmm.
Yeah.
One of those neurons from way, way back in the fired at just the right time.
Nicholas, were you around for that?
No.
No? Okay. Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, I remember now. Okay. Moving on.
Were you?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well,
I had
okay.
just watched Jurassic Park that summer, so yes, I
Oh, all
was
right.
around.
Well, given how how old I am. Okay.
All right. So, so we have Game 5 coming up on Saturday. I I'm a little disappointed. Maybe this should have been my rant to start the episode. I am a little disappointed in the NHL scheduling for the Stanley Cup. First of all, you you have a chance when you're spacing out these games to try and get maybe a Friday night, Sunday. So you get like 2 games over what is considered the weekend, or you try and smash them together, get Saturday, Sunday. I don't know if you have to have a game in the middle or a day off in the middle, especially if you're not traveling. Um, I think it's a swing and a miss for the league to just have the one Saturday game. I believe we could have scheduled this better because I think it's Saturday on TNT. I don't know. Like I'd
Well,
rather have it on a Sunday.
yeah, but add in, why were there so many days in between games 2 and 3?
Right. Well, I wasn't that the travel between 2 and 3 that was travel from wasn't that
Edmonton
Edmonton to Florida?
yeah, but you
But
got the same travel
there
going
was
backwards.
there was 2 days between games 3 and 4 when they were both in
Yes, yes,
Sunrise.
yes, that's right.
Yeah, that I had yeah. I honestly I think that's what killed Florida's momentum after that 6-1 victory was 2 days off, and they're like, well, what do we do with that? Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I'm not a fan of the scheduling
no,
this
not this
this
season.
Stanley Cup. Yeah, it's not been great, but I digress.
Yep.
I do have a note from Jacob here. I think he is panicking a bit. All it says in here is Jacob says, "Ah!" So I will leave the audience with that. Um, we do have some movement, some roster movement in the NHL. Lou, I think you might have a little bit more insight on this one. Chris Kreider is going to be leaving the Big Apple for sunny California, going to the Ducks.
Yes. Um, he's following Jacob Trouba, who was traded there by the Rangers early in the season. Well, not so early in the season, but um, last offseason, the Rangers tried to move Trouba, and he had no trade clauses. And there weren't even teams that he was willing to go to. He just had no trade clauses. And a lot of that was family. His wife and kids preferred being in New York, and so That trade out of Winnipeg worked out well for everyone. And Trouba started to fall off and fall out of favor with Rangers management, and Chris Drury tried to move him. And then when he couldn't, there were little memos or letters that were surreptitiously released out to the media, saying that everyone on the Rangers roster was available, and that really put an end to the Rangers season. And one player in particular who was uh, known to be having been made available was Chris Kreider. And essentially, Kreider stopped playing. He was drafted by the Rangers, uh, played his entire career up to this point with the Rangers, and he just went into a funk. And um, I think he literally stopped playing. I mean, this is a guy who had 52 goals, uh, 2 seasons prior to this one,
Yeah.
and then had a hard time breaking through 20 this season. Uh, by all accounts, he was a malcontent, and um, really, I think, hurt the locker room with his behavior, both on and off the ice, and but off the ice in the locker room. And so Chris Drury, who has a reputation of being absolutely ruthless, I don't like all of the moves that he's ever made, but he is ruthless and he is the GM. He got an extension on his contract with the Rangers. So he wasn't going anywhere, which meant that players were going to be leaving. And I think Drury, for the sake of the Rangers, made probably the best decision possible, and they picked up a decent prospect. You
Yeah.
know what really hurts? Must really hurt when you're somebody like Kreider, when you get shipped out for a draft for a prospect.
Yeah.
You know that there's no. I'm sorry, I don't. That has got to hurt when those sorts of trades come along. That there's not a big name coming back. You're just getting rid of them, and you got a prospect. Wow. I mean, that's just to me, that's just low.
So uh, I know the Ducks are another team that you follow closely, especially
Yeah.
with writing on the website. What are your expectations with this piece added to their puzzle? What are your expectations for them for the upcoming season?
Well, Kreider will probably get something of a, reinvigoration of his career or his attitude towards the game. I think Anaheim can build off of that. They had a big turnaround last year.
They
They were
did.
with what, 36, 37, and what
35, 37, and 10.
35, 37. So there you go. As opposed to the previous year, they were tough getting into double digits in wins. They've been, just awful. But this past season, they were above 500 for quite a bit of the season, and they just sort of tailed off at the end when they were obviously eliminated. Trouba back on the blue line. I don't know that he's been playing as recklessly as he was with the Rangers, but Kreider certainly gives them um, some some veteran leadership on the forward lines. Whether or not he takes advantage of that, um, I think it's up in the air. I see him being revitalized a bit, and be angry. I can't imagine what the 2 games between the two teams will be like this season. But Kreider coming to Madison Square Garden will be just I mean, you can imagine the crowd is just gonna go nuts for him.
Oh yeah.
But I I still don't think Anaheim gets to the playoffs this season, despite having Kreider, Trouba, and some really good young talent.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, It's still a ways away, so we'll see what other moves are made coming up to the draft, and what pieces are picked up, and what draft picks, what players go to which
Yeah,
teams.
yeah.
Um, all right, so as we get further into the Stanley Cup final, it is customary for the NHL to give away their NHL awards for the end of the season. All the great hardware, the Hart Trophy, the Vezina, the Ted Lindsay Award, all those good awards have finally been announced. They were announced before Game 4 of the final. Um, we have a winner of two awards last night. Connor Hellebuck wins not only the Vezina Trophy, but the Hart Trophy as well. Vezina, of course, given to the best goaltender in the league, and the Hart Trophy given to the essentially the MVP of his team. Um, Now there's a little note in here, and I thought that Nicholas was trying to set up that he dissented a little bit on this decision. Uh, there's a note in here, just wondering if we think it was deserved. Nicholas, I am going to start with you since you put this in here. Do you believe this was deserved for Connor Hellebuck to win both the Hart and the Vezina?
I would say so, purely on the basis that this year wasn't the most scoring year we've seen from a lot of players. It wasn't really too tight at the top. But I mean, his record speaks for himself, right? 47, 12 and 3, 925 save percentage, 2 goals against average, just a ridiculous year. So you know what? I would agree. I would like it if they went further in the playoffs, but hey man.
Yeah, but it's an award for the regular season. You don't have to do anything in the playoffs. It's the
True.
best regular season player, right?
Yeah, true. So yeah, I would say it was deserved. I mean, the first goalie in 10 years to do it. Last was Carey Price in 2015. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'd say it was deserved.
Lou, can you think of anybody who deserved the Hart Trophy more than Connor Hellebuck?
I was thinking about that as Nicholas was giving his take on it. I, I mean, across the league, whose name was what other name was constantly in the news? And I can't think of a single one. 47, what was it, Nicholas? 47, 12, and 3?
47, 12 and 3. Yeah.
Yeah, um, that just obviously the Vesna was a no-brainer. But from the heart perspective, nobody. I, uh, I think to Nicholas's point, um, it was an up and down season across the league. I think you had some players who sort of got out of the gate fast and then faded. Um, but Hellebuck was he had one stretch in the season where it was a bit dicey. What was it, late November into December? Took a couple of losses there. Winnipeg went on not in a tailspin, but sort of got soft that early in the season. It corrected it and came right back and pushed on through that. Tell me a name that was out there more than his.
Well, looking at the voting here, second place was Leon Draisaitl. And he only got 53 first place votes compared to Hellebuck's 81 first place votes. And then there were only like three other players to get a first place vote: Nikita Kucherov with 25, Nathan MacKinnon with 27, Jack Eichel with 2, and a few others with 1. Um, Alex Ovechkin got a vote for a first place Hart Trophy.
I,
I think Lou's face says it all there.
no, no, no.
Uh,
I no. I was thinking back actually to McKinnon. Um, and he only got how many?
He got 27 first place
27.
votes. So he got a total of 972 votes, but only 27 of those were first place votes from the writers.
Right. So I think really what you're looking at there is for the regular season, the effort by those top three, Hellebuck, Draisaitl, and McKinnon. Who was it that pushed the team is it furthest or farthest? Farthest.
Yeah.
And it's clearly Hellebuck.
Oh yeah.
Um, um, so yeah, I think I'll echo Nicholas and say I think it's deserved as well. What about you?
Yeah, I don't think there's a question there. He was definitely the biggest impact of any player on their team throughout the regular season. He is the reason why they were the number one seed in the Western Conference. I know playoffs don't matter, which is a good thing, but he was able to advance them to the second round for the first time in a while. Um, yeah, the his numbers, 2.0 goals against average. What was it, a 925 on the season save percentage? I think what did it were shutouts. He had 8 shutouts on the season.
Hmm.
That's that led the league, two more than Vasilevsky and Shesterkin. So, you know, he he had himself a very, very well-deserved Vezina trophy. And yeah, I think the Hart Trophy, you probably could have made an argument for Draisaitl, who had himself a very good year as well, leading the league in goals. And then he was third place in assists with 106, or with the points with 106. And maybe if he led in both goals and points, it would have made a stronger case that he was more valuable to the team. But no, I think they got it right with Hellebuck this season.
So does Hellebuck? I'm going to put this to Nicholas too. Does Hellebuck face the old questions next season? Great regular season. This time, two trophies, but then can't seem to put that together into the playoffs.
Sorry, what was the question?
Why can't what he's going to face that same he's going to face that question again next season. You have a great regular season, but you always fade in the playoffs.
Well, I
And
think that
what is it?
question. Well, I mean, that kind of alludes to stuff with players in Toronto too, right? Like Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner, right? Great
Yeah.
regular seasons, just can't seem to put it together in the playoffs. And I think that just comes down to mentality. Some players are built for the occasion, some players aren't. And he showed a little bit in the first round, but
Mhm.
when that second round they needed him, he was pulled twice, I think, in the second round.
Hmm.
Yes.
So when the lights are shining the brightest, you prove why you're the best in the league. And some players have it, some players don't.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, he's faced this question before because he has had some really good
Yes.
regular seasons. I mean, this is his third Vezina trophy. So I don't know if there's going to be more scrutiny on him. I mean, he is obviously not getting younger, and as a goaltender, that appears to be a bigger issue than some of the other positions. Um, but I don't know if that's going to be the biggest question continually asked because I think unfortunately, I think we already know the answer, and we've seen it since his first Vezina Trophy back in 2020. Yeah, he'll get you a great regular season, but you better have a good backup come the postseason.
Okay, so what you just said, Richard, is
Yeah,
what I'm asking, is it a fair question? It- that season after season, we collectively, not
right.
not just us here, but we are constantly asking or snickering, right?
Yeah,
Well, the Jets, the Hellebuck got him the President's Trophy, and Yeah, but it's Hellebuck in the postseason's going to be coming here. I guess, is it a fair question?
I
Or do we just let it go?
see, I think maybe it is a fair question, but we already know the answer. So I think it's a question that doesn't necessarily need to be asked. I don't know.
S- Wow, that kind of opens up a lot,
It
doesn't it? It's like, great, you're going to have a great regular season, but you're going to be terrible in the postseason as a team. Because
yeah,
let's face it too, and back to Nicholas, it's like this doesn't hang just on Hellebuck. I mean, this is an entire team that just does not perform to the same level, right? Because goalies, yes, you expect them to make all the right saves, and then the unnecessarily spectacular save that saves a game or puts a game away.
I thought that was going somewhere further.
No, no, no. Well, so it's not just Hellebuck.
It's not because you also have to look at, the team that's in the finals right now with Edmonton. They're having starting goalie issues, right? Pickard's come in, he's 7-0 in 9 appearances. But their starter, who was their starter most of the season, hasn't shown up, but the team around him has played well enough to keep them in this.
Yeah, and that's what Hellebuck needed. Whereas
Yeah.
his blue line out to keep him at least um, in a position to make that unnecessarily spectacular save.
now I think we should probably move on to some of the other awards that were given out the other evening. I mean, we had Anze Kopitar of the Kings winning the Lady Byng Memorial Trophy, given to the player who shows the most sportsmanship and skill. Any problems with that? I think
None.
he's
That's his
a pretty
third.
class act. So,
Yeah, that's his third.
yep. James Norris Memorial Trophy to the player voted to be the best defenseman, going to Colorado's Cale Makar.
No
Does
heartburn.
no heartburn,
No.
Nicholas? You think of anybody who might have earned that?
Absolutely not. That guy is incredible.
I I think I'm almost with Adam on this one. I think he's slowly waking me up to this. They should rewrite the description of this as the defenseman or the most offensive defenseman because it seems to go to the defenseman who contributes the most to scoring and not so much as playing defense.
Yeah, I mean the finalists were Makar, Werenski, and Hughes, and none of them are really notable defenseman players, right? So
Yeah, that was 1, 2, and 3 in points for the league. So there you
exactly.
go. But I think Kale got just about all the first place votes in that one, if I remember the press
Yeah.
release.
He had 176 to Werenski's 13.
Yeah, that's right.
Close.
The Calder Memorial Trophy given to the player, the best rookie in the league, to Lane Hudson. I mean, he had 66 points on the season. Celebrini had 63, tied with Michkov. So, sure.
Yeah, no heartburn there either. He
Exactly.
drove Canadians.
Yep.
Drove the
I th
Canadians.
I th
Go ahead.
I think if Wolf led the Flames to the playoffs and maybe they progressed out of the first round, it would have been a closer battle than maybe it
Right.
was.
All right. And last one, we're going to take a peek at the Jack Adams Award given to the best coach in the league, going to Spencer Carberry of the Washington Capitals. They had a really good season. And to be honest, I actually kind of forgot that they had that good of a season because they exited so quickly from the playoffs. Um, yeah. I mean, Washington coming into the season, I had absolutely no expectation for them to be anywhere near the playoffs. They go on and win their division. So, sure, I'll give it to them. Why not? I can't think of a coach that had a better season.
But so I'm sorry, but you think about what a great regular season Washington had. Yes, you're right. But they were underdogs going into the playoffs. I mean, no one had them advancing
Mm-mm.
far at all. So what was it about the regular season that made them so good?
Maybe he's the Connor Hellebuck of coaches.
That's where I was going with this. Although he was, look, he's the one who put the Hershey Bears on the map.
Right.
He got the Hershey Bears started. He stepped in and did a great job with the Caps. But um, God, you stole my thunder on that one.
You just set it up so nicely.
Yeah,
Somebody had to
yeah,
hit it
I
off the
teed it
tee,
up for you. Yeah.
right?
Well,
Somebody
that's
had to hit it off.
that's you've got a good wingman here. Yeah, I thought he deserved it as well, but the same questions pop up. What you do in the regular season is of no value except seeding.
You think that's the beef that Boston had with Jim Montgomery after he won it in 2013 or
Yeah,
2023?
yeah. I, that's um, this is all of the money is made in the playoffs, and
Hmm.
you have to go far in the playoffs because that's where ownership is making its money. It's a business.
It is a business. Nicholas, do you think of any other coaches that could have deserved this more than Carberry?
Craig Berube. No, I'm kidding.
I knew you would say that. I knew you would say that. I was
No,
about to write it down.
I'm completely joking. No, I don't think so. With the incredible regular season they had, I think it was only justified.
Yeah. All right. So those are the major awards that were announced I believe it was last night, Thursday night, during the NHL award ceremony.
One
Um,
trophy I want to touch on. Sorry to cut you
Yeah,
off.
oh,
yeah.
go ahead.
The Bill Masterson Trophy went to Sean Monahan, and not do we think if he deserved it or not. Did you guys see the way it was presented to him?
I did not.
His
It
family.
was no, it was the Goudreau family. It was
Oh, the
Goudreau's
Goudreau.
wife.
Oh,
Really?
oh,
It was
that's
Goudreau's
I
wife.
missed
yeah.
that.
It was beautiful to watch.
Wow.
Wow, I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. And yeah, listeners, if you did not see it, go check it out. Trust Nicholas. If he said it was awesome, you need to go see it.
No, it was beautiful.
All right. And some other housekeeping notes. I believe Nicholas, you found this one as well. The Penguins could possibly have new ownership? Question mark. There's
Yeah.
interest. There's interest in a new ownership. Take us away, Nicholas. What did you find?
Mario Lemieux, Ron Burkle, and David Morehouse are exploring the possibility of buying back the Pittsburgh Penguins from the Fenway Sports Group. Sources told Pierre TSN LeBrun. Oh my gosh, TSN Pierre LeBrun. My goodness.
So how long has Fenway been the Fenway Group in the ownership?
I believe since 2021.
Yeah, it is recent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they need a new GM.
Yeah.
I get no comment from Nicholas about that.
Sorry, I was looking for.
I thought for sure you'd have something to say. You could have predicted that the Penguins would spiral out of control with him in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. I mean, I think their time is coming. I think the whole organization needs a revamp.
Yep, shake it, shake it up a bit, right?
Yep.
Sullivan moving over to the Rangers was big, and then
Mhm.
you've got Malkin and Crosby. What do you do? I mean, when do you bite that bullet like the Rangers did with Kreider? One of the I think probably the longest tenured player on that roster. And at some point, you're going to have to make the decision with Malkin and Crosby.
I think they bite the bullet when Crosby stops taking 8-7 every single year.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm not, look, it's nothing against either one of them. It's just, again, as I said before, this is a business. At some point, you have to make that tough decision.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Well, yeah, we'll see where these reports go, and if that is in fact going to be the route that the Pittsburgh Penguins go down. And how happy would Pittsburgh Penguins fans be if Mario Lemieux ended up being part owner of the team? The city would burn down. I'm convinced there would be joyous eruptions from the Steel City. Yeah. All right. I think that does it for what we have on the rundown. I think that's going to take us to some parting thoughts. Lou, I'll start with you.
um, I don't know. I'm looking forward to the last three games because I think this is going to go seven. So, our trusted friend Jacob will be outside the arena at the watch party outside and watch the Oilers win Game 7.
Oh, all right. Okay, Nicholas, do you
As
have a fun fact or a parting thought?
I do have a fun fact, but yeah, as Lou stated, I think the next three games, if it goes to three games, which I think it will, it's going to be incredible. Let's hope Edmonton brings the cup back to where it's from. But the fastest goal in Stanley Cup Finals was scored by Jean Leclerc in 1995, just 10 seconds into the game.
Oh, there we go. I also have a fun fact I will be tossing out to you
How
guys. I
dare
know
you, Richie?
I am inspired by Nicholas that I wanted to toss this out there. And it has to do with game 4 and the result there. Leon Draisaitl has now become the third player in NHL history to score multiple overtime goals in a single Stanley Cup final. He joins Maurice Richard and John Leclerc, I believe, were the two others who were able to do that.
Well,
So,
we did.
yeah. All right, that does it for this edition of the Pro Hockey News Podcast. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Manscaped, LDE Affinity Jewelry, My Custom Sports Chair, Superfeet, and FoCo. Thank you to Dr. Lou Lafredo and Nicholas Principe for joining me on this edition of the Pro Hockey News Podcast. And thank you, listeners, for making us a part of your routine. And I will see everybody on the first line next week.